This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and smartwatches are only just beginning. Here is what I would call really the second generation of Android Wear watches. This is the Huawei Watch, simply named, isn't it? And it's probably the most attractive of the Android Wear watches yet. In fact, you could say that this is more attractive than the Apple Watch, which isn't bad looking, but mostly because it's pretty minimalist and it's made of metal and it just doesn't offend you more than anything else. This one actually looks like a watch, doesn't it? As you take a look at it, you say, yeah, it's a round face. Okay, they don't have to be round, but it helps. It's got a stainless steel casing on it. It actually looks pretty classy, and some of them look a lot better in pictures, press pictures, particularly provided by the company, than they do in real life. This one actually is nice looking. It's got a leather band on it. It's also available with stainless steel link bands and even that kind of mesh that's so popular with the Apple Watch. Now, this is going to cost you, though. There's the trick. It starts at $349, just like the Apple Watch, and that gets you the stainless steel with the leather band, so it's not like you're slumming or anything like that. And we'll tell you about the other models that are available and how much the price goes up. But suffice to say, there is a rose gold. It's not super duper pink, happily, but it's $699 with the leather band, and if you want it with the matching rose gold plated, just plated for that kind of money, band, that's going to be $799. So it's not cheap, but it's nice looking. We're going to check it out now. So here it is, the Huawei Watch, arguably the best looking Android Wear watch yet. And of course it's an Android Wear watch, so you're going to have to pair it with a smartphone, either Android or this is new iOS. Okay, right here we are doing it Android, so we can see the full extent of the features available, and you're going to use the Android Wear application right here, and you see you get the pretty picture of it, and you can choose from a variety of watch faces there and install more applications using it. And all data that the watch has, this is true of all smartwatches, really comes from your phone, and it's just piped over to the smartwatch. So your smartwatch is basically just a second more convenient and small screen to look at that gives you a window into your smartphone's world. This is a default watch face, which is very attractive, I have to say. And again, kind of analog with it goes well with the round and very traditional watch looking design. And in a minute it's going to go to sleep again, and there's a sleep screen, unlike the Apple Watch where you look at a whole lot of nothing on it. One thing I like about Android Wear is that you can always see the time without having to flick your wrist and activate it again. In this case, in this watch face right here, it shows you the date as well. As we take a look at the watch itself, and again, this is the base $350 model. It has a stainless steel 316L casing. Those of you who are into watches may know what 316L means. Brushed on the sides, obviously a little shinier over here. It looks very much like a pretty classy watch. Such an improvement over the first Android Wear watches that were just really, they looked like, you know, pieces of plasticky tech on your wrist instead of like a watch. The back here has the heart rate sensor, which I had high hopes for, but so far it keeps saying my pulse is 95 when it's really about 73. It hasn't been very accurate, even when wearing it reasonably snugly against my wrist. The connectors over here are for charging, and it comes with a weighted magnetic charging base right here. So it just sits on side, and these are pins that will actually retract as it goes on, and it locks on, and you can feel it lock in place, but I've had once or twice it actually not start charging, so I advise you actually take a look at the screen and check to see that the charging symbol shows on the screen. And the other end just plugs into the standard USB kind of wall wart. Nothing much to see there. 300 milliamp battery inside this watch, which they claim lasts up to 2 days on the charge. Typically with smartwatches, I just put them on the charger every night and charge them up so they're ready to go. It did make it through to about noon the next day without my actually charging up. So really, you do want to charge it every night. Of course, it's going to depend on the brightness setting that you use on the watch, how often you use it, how often you wake it up. This is an Amoled Display, 42 millimeter, 1.4 inches. So this is like the larger size of Apple Watch for you iOS people who are thinking about maybe getting an Android Wear watch instead of the Apple Watch. It is pretty darn huge on my wrist, as you can see right there. Now, of course, I'm a woman, but I'm also almost 6 feet tall, so I'm not a teeny little woman. If you got a small build, this is going to look kind of big on it, and there's lots of extra watch band here. So you might want to look for a shorter watch band. This takes standard 18 millimeter watch bands. Now Huawei is going to offer a selection that range in price from $80 up to about $170, going from leather to link metal bands to mesh bands, various colors and finishes, all that sort of thing. This is a little over 11 millimeters thick, so I think overall the watch is very attractive, but proportionally speaking, it still looks too thick relative to the diameter of the watch, which is a pretty generous diameter. The good part about that diameter is everything on the screen is pretty darn big and easy to see. With this watch face right here, you can see we got a step counter active the day of the week, and how much battery life I have left. Phases of the moon, who cares, but it looks kind of pretty. It's a traditional watch face. It's got one button on it. If you tap it, it'll wake it up. Of course, you can always say, "Okay, Google, what's the temperature?" It's not the best listener, this watch, so far. I mean, I don't want to be like Maxwell Smart and pull it up and hold it 3 inches from my face to activate it. Let's try one more time. And I will put it closer to my mouth. "Okay, Google, what's the temperature?" Now that worked. I put it about 3 inches from my lips. So there's the voice command. And you can do all sorts of things with the voice command on this. Originally when Google designed Android Wear, they really wanted everything to be controlled by voice. You couldn't even bring up the list of applications. You were supposed to use voice command to do that, and they realized people really didn't want to walk around talking to their watches. So if you press and hold on that button, you can bring up all the available applications that you have installed, along with settings, some basic control of stuff. You can set the display brightness, the always-on display. You've got Google Play Music here, and you can use that to either play music on your phone, start it up, or you can play it on Wear, which means playing it directly from your watch. Now, this does not have a speaker. It has a vibrate motor, so it'll vibrate on your wrist for notifications. So you'd have to pair this with Bluetooth headphones if you wanted to listen directly on the watch. If you want to get rid of anything, just swipe to the left and that's gone. We'll go back to our settings and applications. We've got Google Fit on here, so you have a step counter. The health tracking stuff on here is not too fancy. We've got agenda, we've got alarm. Amazon has their own little app. There are more apps now. Google claims 4,000. A lot of them really just pass notifications along to your watch. They don't do anything special. So American Airlines here, if I tap on that, and it says to display your boarding pass, you must first view it on your phone. Gee, that's not super exactly what I wanted, but you get the idea there. The apps on here, yeah, they're coming along. Some of them are better than others. There's actually a couple of games now. I think the core Google features is still probably going to be the most useful. Most people perhaps just want notifications on their phone. For example, there's a notification about a YouTube video. If I pull it up, I get more information on that particular notification. I can swipe through and get my sports scores and weather information, how many steps I've taken today, all that sort of thing. And notice the weather is totally wrong there. It doesn't update as quickly as I would like. It is 90 degrees now, not 67, unfortunately. Stock information, all that sort of thing. If you get a call, you'll get a little notification on your wrist about it. If there's a voicemail, you'll get a little notification. You cannot make phone calls using this or receive phone calls using this. I mean, there is no audio other than through Bluetooth. Just to show how quickly we've come far, the Asus Zen watch, because it had a pretty pleasing and minimalist design, a little band of rose gold on the side, a leather watch band. It was made of metal. This was one of the best looking watches from the last generation of Android Wear. And I would say now it looks slightly dated, doesn't it, or dorky compared to something like this. Of course, the Asus Zen watch started out as a $199 watch, so it is also a lot less expensive. And surprisingly, even though this one is got a little bit of a curve to the casing and all that sort of thing, this is really comfortable. Even on my wrist where it is decidedly too big, it is comfortable. It's more comfortable than the original Moto 360 watch was. So the suppleness of the band, the design of the casing, they did something right here. Nice and comfy to wear. And just so you can see it next to the Apple Watch, this is the 38mm Apple Watch right here. It fits me a bit better with a third-party Casetify band on it, a little playful thing. So you can see the difference in size there. For those of you who are smaller-wristed or ladies thinking about getting one and you want to see what the 38mm is like versus the 42. And obvious difference in styling there. These are both made of metal. This is the least expensive Apple Watch at $350 with the anodized aluminum. And its array of sensors that actually do work very well, the health-related sensors. Now, say you want to get a little jazzier with the styling. Like I said, rose gold is available, $6.99. That's rose gold plated, obviously, for that price. Leather band included with that. If you want it with a matching rose gold link band, also plated, that is $7.99. So Apple's not the only expensive game in town. Of course, there's no solid gold casing option like Apple offers for the rich and famous movers and shakers of the world in limited quantity here. If you like black stainless steel, it has a black link band that is DLC coated, cold forged stainless steel also. That is $450. Like I said, bands from Huawei range from $80 to $170 when they're going to be available, and it's an 18mm band, so. And we've got an interesting little quickie releasey thing right here, so you should be able to probably find something else that fits if you don't like anything that they offer. This is a Sapphire Crystal. Good times with Apple. You actually have to pay up for the stainless steel model just to get the Sapphire Crystal. That's more scratch resistant. It's tougher, and especially given a watch that's this thick, it's pretty easy to go bang it on door jambs and other things. So I'm really happy to know that there is Sapphire Crystal here instead of just some plain old glass. With the Wi-Fi that's on board, it's 2.4 gigahertz only, built inside of this teeny little body right here. That is another improvement for this generation of Android Wear watches. What that means is that you don't have to stay glued to your phone anymore. And the whole point of this is to not have to be so intimate with your phone, isn't it? You leave your phone in one room, you wander to another, you've exceeded Bluetooth's range of 25 to 30 feet. Not a problem. Wi-Fi, of course, has much better coverage, at least 100 feet or so. So you'll still get notifications and information piped from your phone to your watch. Now, if you're an iOS user, I think the appeal is going to be much more limited. Probably you're going to want to still get an Apple Watch because you got the whole ecosystem of applications and complete support from Apple between both products. If you're using this with iOS, pretty much you're using it just for the notifications on the watch, which some people may just want it just for notifications without having to pull the phone out, especially with today's giant phablety phones like the iPhone 6s Plus coming up. Me personally, if I had Android Wear, I would consider this watch. If I had an iPhone, not so much. Just because it's really meant to work best with the whole Google Now experience, with the Google App Store, the section of the Play Store devoted to applications. It really is, even though it can work with iOS, it's still best when you stay within the Google ecosystem with this. The AMOLED display on this has 286 ppi pixel density. It looks very sharp, and AMOLED's a good choice because it is very bright, very colorful, and quite rich looking. I enjoy just looking at the display. Honestly, it's quite pretty, and it gets bright enough that you can actually see it outdoors in the bright Texas sun, which is a plus too. I mean, a watch that you can't really see is not a very useful watch. AMOLED's also very power efficient, so that helps too. Inside we have the usual internals. There's a Qualcomm Snapdragon 400 CPU in here, 4 gigs of flash ROM, and 512 megs of RAM. Still the same specs that we saw in first generation Android Wear watches. They are pretty much set in stone now. That's plenty enough internal flash storage that you can put a good selection of apps on here, and you can even put some music on here if you would rather, say, go out jogging wearing your watch and not taking your phone and, put on some Bluetooth headphones while you're jogging, listen to music straight from your watch. Obviously, the time is still going to work. It's still going to be able to track your movements. So that's the Huawei Android Wear watch. Things we like about it, it has Wi-Fi, so you don't have to stay within 30 feet of your phone. If you're like me, you leave the phone on the desk, you wander around the house, and suddenly your watch becomes, well, pretty stupid. It knows the time, and that's about it. It's the most attractive watch yet, even if it's still too big for me, obviously. It's pretty thick, too. There are a lot of big face watches out there for men, but most of them are probably not so thick. It's got a sapphire display on it, so it's pretty durable, and you get that for $349, no having to pay for that or anything like that. Nice also. And, well, Android Wear is a work in progress, and we'd still like to see more useful applications, but for doing things like getting notifications, it gets the job done. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit our website for the full written review, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.